Hello, welcome to this INFocus Candidate Forum. It's made possible by Western Wayne News, Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and WCTV. I'm Ron Holbrook. I'm a member of the Chamber Board of Directors. And tonight we'll be talking with candidates in contested races for the town councils of Cambridge City and Milton. We've invited all members on the ballot, and we're going to give each candidate some time to tell you about themselves and then start with a series of questions. We're going to ask each candidate to keep their responses to about 2 minutes per question so that we'll be able to have some follow-ups and give everyone a chance to get to know the folks that they'll be voting for coming up very soon. So with that, I have Gary Cole with us. He is the candidate for town council in Cambridge City. Gary, thank you for coming this evening. And let's get right started. And if you would, take about 90 seconds and tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm Gary Cole. I'm running for District 5, Cambridge City Town Council. I was born and raised in Cambridge City, went all through school in Cambridge, graduated from Lincoln High School in 1969, went away, taught at Northeastern High School in Fountain City for over 40 years, decided to come back home again to kind of complete life's journey. Many of the listeners may have remembered my father, Glenn and Betty Cole, and they had moved to Richmond. I moved to Richmond to be closer to them. They had health concerns. Mom had Alzheimer's, and so when they passed away, they were in a care facility in Richmond. I decided to come back home and kind of complete life full circle, and I think I can try to serve the community as an active retiree. I've been retired from Northeastern about 10 years.
Well, congratulations on retirement.
Thank you.
And thank you for that. We'll get right started into some questions.
Okay.
Gary, why do you want to run for town council?
I believe that I have something to offer. I've been very observant since I've been back in town. I care about what happens to the town. I think the town has a very rich history, but we need to build on our history, but we need to look to the future. And I think there's a lot of opportunities that Cambridge can take advantage of. We need to be proactive and try to move forward and just make it a great place to live. I am thrilled to be back home, and I want everyone else to enjoy living there and make the most of it. So I feel that I can offer something to the town.
Good. Thank you. So Gary, what experience and abilities do you have that make you qualified for town council?
Well, I got 2 degrees from Ball State, and I realized through that and through teaching that you have to do a lot of study, a lot of homework, a lot of research to delve into different topics. And I feel like as a member of the town council, that would be an enhanced role, that it becomes kind of like a part-time job. You have to study things, compare communities, and come to meetings with information, and so it's an ongoing process. I've learned to work with a lot of people. I mean, I taught 7th grade for 40 years. So you deal with lots of different people and lots of different situations. So right. I think with that experience, it helps me to some degree.
Well, good. Thank you. Thank you. So you just mentioned having to study and research. From what you've observed, tell us what's going well with local government as it pertains to Cambridge City.
I think Cambridge's business district is doing great. The Cambridge Main Street organization, I think, is doing a lot with establishing, for example, concerts in the park in the summertime. There's a lot of energy in town based upon different businesses. We have become sort of a tourist attraction. More so, it's changed a lot since I lived here in the 50s and 60s. More people come to town now, and I think there's a great energy that needs to be captured, and I think we can continue to build on that if we do a variety of things and establish studies with other communities and take advantage of grants. And I think that with that, we can preserve what we have and build to the future.
Right. Well, good, good. So there's two sides to every coin. What's not going well, and what do you think can be done, or would you propose to do as a member of town council to help things, help them govern better?
Well, from my viewpoint, again, somewhat limited, but I think that the town has a problem with blight. We have a lot of burned out or abandoned homes, either abandoned by absent landlords. Some are unsafe structures. I think we need to be actively involved in taking care of these blighted situations. I'm not talking about just high weeds. I'm talking about properties that are unsafe and need to be either torn down or remedied in some way. I think we need to be more proactive. We need to not wait until a problem is presented, but we need to follow the ordinances that the town has established and act upon them in an expedient manner. So that, as I see, are things that I would like to address. The town has a very extensive, comprehensive plan that was established and written at great expense, as I understand, before COVID. And we need to follow the plan as far as the implementation of that plan to get some more good things for the community. And again, I think we need to be proactive when it comes to grants.
Right.
There's a lot of them out there, and you just need to jump through the hoops and spend the time and apply for them.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you. So you just mentioned grants, and East Central Indiana, Wayne County specifically, even Cambridge City's recently received some very good news about the Hoosier Enduring Legacy Program. There's a couple of quality of life projects that are queued up for Cambridge City. I think about $100,000 dedicated towards improvements at Crates Park, playground equipment, including more accessible equipment for those that need that, and the gathering space and performance venue also near Crates Park. So could you talk a little bit about what you know of those projects, and as a potential member of town council, what you would do to ensure that that money is spent efficiently to maximize the value to the community members?
I was at the board meeting last couple weeks ago when they talked about that, so my knowledge on that is minimal, but from what I could understand and what I've tried to learn, it's just an unbelievably great opportunity. It's fantastic, and I applaud the people on the council who have taken the time and jumped through the hoops and done this for the town, because I think it's just fabulous. And the venue, the entertainment venue, I think is a wonderful addition. They've instituted the concerts in the park, and the attendance has been great. I think it's a great thing to bring the community together. People, I went down, they're having a great time, and it's community involvement. So I think things like that we need to encourage, because they're just fabulous opportunities for the town. I think we need to keep going with it. I mean, build on it. If this is successful, I think we need to be very particular about how we spend the money, but I think with careful study, it will be okay. It'll happen. So yes, I was thrilled to hear that. Growing up in Cambridge in the 50s and 60s, I mean, the park hasn't changed much really since that time, unfortunately. And to think that they're going to do all that and make it more accessible to more different groups and bring it up to, I guess, code is very exciting.
Sure.
So I applaud all of them, and if I were a member of the council, I would certainly want to continue that and continue the momentum on that.
Okay. Good, thank you. I want to take just a moment and remind everybody you're watching the INFocus Candidate Forum. We're talking with Gary Cole, candidate for Cambridge City Town Council. If you'd like to submit questions, you can do so on the Wayne County Whitewater Community Television Facebook page. Submit your questions there. We'll get those to Mr. Cole to respond to. And we're having this conversation this evening so everybody can get to know the candidates a little bit better. So we were talking about projects and grants. I think recently there was a grant the town of Cambridge City received, and we've seen in town a lot of work on the water project, improvements to the water system. Do you have any information or knowledge how that project's going?
I don't know a lot about that because not being actively involved in council, just the meetings I've attended and what I have heard, that they were badly needed to bring things up. I understand the one phase is fairly complete now, and there's some planning up at the industrial park,
Yes.
and that's being studied, as I understand right now, so they can determine the feasibility of that. I think the industrial park is something that's very important to Cambridge City, but again, with the funding and the comparisons, that's all something, if I were elected, I would have to do a lot of study on, because my knowledge of that is rather minimal. But again, if I get elected, I've got 2 months to do my homework.
Sure.
And talk to a lot of people. And so I think what they've done so far is very prudent.
Good, good, thank you, thank you. So when it comes to funding local budgets, obviously taxes are a primary source for that funding, and the cities or the towns, cities, and county gets to then provide its infrastructure and services. There's a lot of discussion about a countywide food and beverage tax. There's data that shows that given our proximity to I-70, many of our establishments are patronized by folks outside of the county, outside of the state, and potentially the area could benefit from a 1% food and beverage tax that could be distributed to those budgets. Do you have thoughts on that you could share with us, or would you support such a measure?
I don't know a lot about that. Again, I would have to study that. It sounds feasible. I understand the need for something like that. The options on that would have to be very carefully weighed. And so I would hesitate to give a definite opinion on that with so little knowledge, but I do believe that we need to obviously bring in as much revenue as we can, but I would have to just study that one.
That's good. Thank you. Earlier you talked about housing that's got into a state of disrepair, blighted homes. That prompts the thought, a lot of discussion, and you hear it all over about the availability of affordable housing.
Right.
Or lack thereof. Do you see a possibility for a town council or a way for them to help address that or would you have any ideas how you might be able to address that if you were a member of the town
Well,
council?
knowing and living in the community for a while, I see how short of housing there really is. It's rather severe, and it's a shame when you see houses that you do have absent landlords. They're just fall into a state of disrepair for whatever reason. Why they bought these properties and let them just sit vacant is rather beyond me, but it's not good for the town, and it's certainly not good for people who want to live in the town. There's a lot of opportunities for housing, I believe, if grants were available, if money were available. Even in the historic buildings downtown, there's a lot of upstairs spaces that could be renovated and turned into lovely apartments. And that would ease the crisis somewhat in housing. But I do think that if you would clean up the blighted areas, people would be more inclined to come to town. And if you could revitalize some of these homes, and if a landlord does not want to maintain the home, then I think there needs to be, and I assume there's some kind of an ordinance, or should be some kind of an ordinance, that something needs to be done about it, so somebody can come in and make it a usable family home. So I do think that is something that needs to be addressed, because the housing situation in Cambridge is very severe, particularly with the industrial park. There's great need for housing. So yes, I do see that.
Okay, thank you. The cost of everything continues to rise. We see that every day.
Oh, yes, we do.
If it hasn't already, it's going to have a significant impact on town budgets. What tools or mechanisms can a town council have, or what would you propose if you become a town council member, to help ensure that the residents continue to get the infrastructure supported and the services from the town they need supplied to them?
Well, one thing, and I have not delved into this completely, but the town limits need to be widened. The incorporation, I think, needs to be widened, because there's a lot of neighborhoods that I just assume were in the city limits, but they're not. They receive city services, but they need to be incorporated, so that would help the schools, that would help the town budget, and we're all pretty much receiving, I think, the same services. So I think I'm not making a random decision, and this would have to be something that would have to be studied very carefully. But I think, I don't know when the last time the town limits were established, but I think the town has grown, things have changed, and I think that needs to be carefully looked at to see if the incorporation could be expanded to bring in more money. We want to keep our schools in good shape. We want to keep our library in good shape, and more into the town coffers. So that's one way I would suggest that perhaps we could better our budget, would be look at that carefully.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So Gary, let's talk a little more personally. How would you identify your management style?
Well, as a teacher, you learn to be a pretty good listener. And you learn to have a sense of humor about things and not take everything seriously and kind of roll with the punches. So I guess I would say just listen to people. I think people do need to be encouraged to come to town council meetings, if it's to speak, to give an opinion, but I see the attendance being very minimal. And I think there could be maybe a change where there would be a time during a town council meeting that patrons could speak or voice a concern or an opinion about something. So I think you want to involve, in teaching, you want to involve your class, many of your kids as you possibly can. I'm not comparing the citizens to my students, but I'm saying you want to involve as many people as you can and let them in on the decision-making process, because I think that makes everybody take ownership in what's going on. So I would kind of recommend that.
Okay, good. What are your thoughts on how a town board can work to obtain consensus on topics to get things done if there's differing opinions on a topic?
I think everybody just needs to be open about their thoughts and discuss them and try to come to some consensus. I think just honesty, and everyone needs to speak their mind about things. But again, I think you need to all back it up with study. I mean, you need to come to a board meeting having done your homework and prepared for the topics that are on the agenda. So that would be, my advice. From what I've seen, the Town Council of Cambridge City has done a very good job in working and solving common problems, and I think they've been a very worthwhile organization from what I've seen. And I just think that needs to continue, and people just have to accept the fact that sometimes there's going to be different opinions, and you just need to work through it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So what's something that you believe our community members, the ones that are going to vote in November, should know about Gary Cole that we haven't already talked about, that I haven't asked you about, that they may not know already?
I don't know. I think many of the people in town have probably seen me riding my bike through town. I've taken that up in retirement, and so I ride the streets of Cambridge and along the old places that I rode the Schwinn bicycle in the 1950s and 60s. I'm a hometown boy. No matter where I've gone, this has always been home. And I feel at home here. I feel like I can do some good here. And I'm just hoping that, I have a good retirement and we make the town better.
Good. Thank you. So again, I want to remind everybody you're watching the INFocus Candidate Forum, brought to you by Western Wayne News, the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and by WCTV. We're talking with Gary Cole, candidate for Cambridge City Town Council. Want to also remind everybody that the Chamber of Commerce has an upcoming business summit. They have a lot of very talented keynote speakers that will be sharing their expertise, business expertise for attendees. You can get more information about that on wcchamber.org. So look into that if you would. And also want to remind everybody to please register to vote. You can register to vote by visiting indianavoters.com, or you can call the number on your screen. The deadline to vote is coming up quickly. It's October 10th, 2023, and this year election is on November 7th. So again, with Gary Cole, candidate for Cambridge City Town Council. Gary, any closing remarks that you'd like to have for our...
I just would like to encourage everybody to vote. I realize there's not a lot of competition in this election cycle, but I would encourage them to vote. I would like to serve them. I would like to do my best. And that's about all I'd like to say.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Well, Gary, we appreciate you coming to see us today. Appreciate you sharing and being open. Local government functioning well is important to our political system.
Exactly.
And in a time when we need more people involved it seems like fewer people are willing to get involved. So we appreciate you sharing. I know it's difficult to put yourself out there, and we thank you and wish you the best.
Thank you.
Coming up soon, we're going to be talking with candidates from the Milton area, Milton community, who are running for their at-large town council seat. And again, thank you, Gary Cole.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
At Help the Animals Inc. in Richmond, we strive to find our cats and dogs forever homes. Adoption is as easy as filling out our online application. Every pet that leaves our shelter is spayed, neutered, and up to date on vaccinations. Volunteering at the shelter can be a rewarding experience. Come to our orientation on the second Saturday of every month. Want to learn more? Visit our website at helptheanimalsinc.com. Like us on Facebook or call 765-962-6811. Help the Animals Inc. Finding your next best friend.
Come find fun this month with Morris Reeves Library's Youth Services programs. Families can take grab-and-go craft kits or attend game night. Preschoolers enjoy new programs like Off We Go and Jammy Time, and old favorites like Music, Movement, and Stories, Wiggle Worms, and Sensory Story Time. Children have fun with crafting creations, art afternoon, and 3 book clubs. Teens relieve stress with Back to the Grind weekly creative programming. Stop by Morris Reeves Library's Youth Services area for books, programs, and more.
Richmond Sanitary District curbside service in your neighborhood. Know the dings. Bag trash goes into your green rosy roller. Regular route drivers do not get out of their trucks to pick up bags and items left beside your green rosy roller. If you have larger items that do not fit in your green rosy roller, please call to schedule a special pickup, 765-983-7450. Clean, loose, unbagged recyclables go in your blue Ritchie roller. Plastic bottles and jugs, aluminum and steel cans, glass bottles and jars with lids removed. Newspaper, chipboard like cereal boxes and magazines should be placed on top of the blue Ritchie roller type. Corrugated cardboard has the wavy layers. It must be clean, no pizza grease, folded and broken down to slide easily out of the container when picked up to be emptied by the truck. Questions on curbside containers? Please call Debbie Tevis at 765-983-7456. Richmond Sanitary District. Our goal is to grow.
WCTV supports local entertainment. WCTV supports local information. WCTV supports our local students. WCTV needs your support to continue supporting our community, and it's easy to do. Become a member as an individual or family. Nonprofit and business memberships are also available, with benefits including video production and program sponsorship. Membership donations are critical, and when deciding where your support dollars go, support an organization that serves the community you live in. Visit WCTV.info or call 765-973-8488.
Hello again. Welcome back to the INFocus Candidate Forum. We are talking with candidates for the at-large Milton Town Council seat. I have with me Dwight Smith and Larry Harris. Thank you for coming, gentlemen. This program is brought to us by Western Wayne News and the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce and WCTV. So what we'll do, just an opportunity for you to get to share a little bit of information about yourself with the viewers. And we'll start with about 90 seconds or so intro of you telling us who you are, and then I'll start asking you a series of questions. Everyone who's on the ballot for this seat's been invited to attend, and we'll ask you to keep your questions to about 2 minutes, so maybe we can allow for some follow-up questions, but mostly want to give you time to talk with the voters. So if you don't mind, Mr. Smith, if you would start and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, grew up in Connersville, Indiana.
Great.
Moved to Milton in 1996.
Okay.
Restored a 1895 home
Oh,
in Milton. Raised our 2 sons there because the school system in Cambridge City was much better than what we was finding in Fayette County.
okay. Good.
45 years as an engineer,
Okay.
working in automotive fuel systems and other type of activities.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Harris?
Yes, 62 years old, born and raised in Milton. Have always lived in Milton. Lived on the outskirts in the rural, both east and west. But like I say, I've lived in Milton since birth. Outside of Milton, 1 block, I've still got 12 family members live on the same little short country road. Again, but I've lived in Milton all my life, and Milton's home.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you. So I'll start the first question with Mr. Smith. First of all, tell us, why do you want to run for office?
Well, I had been in office from 2012 2016. Didn't get reelected, but I was traveling all over the world. And I think I'm seeing things going on that shouldn't be going on. We should treat all systems equally, and the citizens, they need our support, and we need to help them be able to do what they want or their expectations from us. And that's not really happening. We have a lot of people that run for the money.
Thank you, Dwight. Just to follow up, so what about your experience and your skills make you qualified for the seat?
For our skills, as an engineer, numbers mean a lot. Data, data, data.
Yeah.
Also, our sewage system was vandalized once, and nobody knew how to fix it. But I went down and immediately was able to determine how to pull the pumps to get the pumps repaired. Okay. So my mechanical capability comes in very handy to the town of Milton.
Well, thank you. So Larry, same questions for you. Why do
Been
you run for-
self-employed 42 years. I'm kind of like Dwight. I deal with numbers. I deal with people every day. You know, people for 40 years. This is my 40th year in business. And like I say, I deal with numbers just like he does. So, and I deal with things that has to be changed all the time. You know, we start a project. It may look like it's going to go well this way, but we find something that's going to work, you know, for the homeowner. We go with it. Same way with Dwight. I want to be there for the town of Milton, for the residents. Right. A lot of our residents doesn't get out. They're not able to come to meetings. They're not able to do those things. But I'm constantly getting calls because I do go to the meetings and I do go to the workshops and my truck's in there. So when I get home, it's constantly, we had a board meeting tonight. Can you help us do this? Can you tell us how to go about this? So again, I'm constantly working with people on questions and going to the town board and asking these questions. And again, I'm going to say there's things that need to change. We just got to work on some things, get some things different. Again, there's little problems. All towns have problems,
Sure.
but we need to start working on ours a little bit differently.
Right.
We were recently getting a water grant, and we kind of found out that we weren't going to get that as well as we thought because some people just wasn't on their toes staying up with what was going on with the grant. And because of that, we're going to be way under the grant. I mean, half of what we were supposed to get to work on water lines, we're not going to get. And we lost a town councilman, and that's why I say I want to fill in his seat, if possible, and keep all his work going from play parks that we're planning on building to getting our new water lines. Like I say, we need the whole town water lines, not just part of the town. But right now, we're going to be looking at part of the town, so I want to be there to make sure the other half of the town down the road, however long, 4 years, 5 years, or 10 years, that they get it too, or we stay on the grant to keep the grant coming for the water as quickly as possible. Because as I say, if only half of our town gets it, the other half doesn't. The other half still needs their water just like we do. So again, I want to be there just to help out the town, help out the residents. Sure. Like I say, I'm constantly getting calls saying, hey, this, this, this. So I go to the meetings, I question, get the answers that I'm given, and I call people and tell them what they're going to gain and what they're not. But again, Milton's been my hometown, and like Dwight said, I mean, we just want to keep the town going in the right direction. And the things that aren't going in the right direction, we need to get them steering in the right direction.
Good. Well, I'll be asking the same question to each of you guys, so I'm going to alternate who I go with first to give you each the same opportunity. So I'll ask you this question first, Larry. So you talked about the water project. So obviously that's something very important to Milton and its residents.
Very.
What other service or project, what other need would you identify would be
Well, we have
most
several
important?
needs besides the water. Like I say, we have the sewer lift station, like Dwight was talking about, you know, and he knows about it. Again, we have things there that we have to stay on. The town residents don't always know when we're going to have a rate hike on our sewer, although we do have dates that the hikes are going up. As I say, our sewage goes to Connorsville, so we have a rate. They started us out on a low rate, so we would just eventually get to the same cost that Connorsville residents have. And a lot of residents had no idea that was the case. They thought, you know, we got our sewer and this was the bill and that was where it was going to stay. So again, the residents need to know more about what's going on and when it's going on. And I'm there to help them do that. I mean, as I say, I've told people, I go to the meetings and I'm there for you.
Okay.
If they have a question and they're not able to get there, I go ask the questions.
Okay.
As I say, I've been 40 years in business and everybody knows me.
All right,
So
thank
again,
you. Appreciate that. So Dwight, what do you see as the hot topics for Milton?
Keeping things up to standard. Back when I was on council the first time, we had IDEM came in, did an inspection of our water system and found numerous things that was not in compliant. They wouldn't put the health risk to the citizens, but the health risk was to the employees because you have chlorine that you're trying to inject. Well, our town engineer or person that was in charge of all that retired real quickly. We had like 10 minutes notice. Well, then I get this report. I'm reading the report where IDEM is going to come back in and review what have we changed. Nothing had been changed because that report hasn't been distributed. We were going to go on probation. So I took the lead, called my contacts that I grew up with in Connorsville who worked in water and was able to get things moving forward until we got a new employee. So we got our thing, we got out of that area of paying a fine per day. So, you know, those are things that it's been there since 1963.
Yeah.
We painted the doors, but we don't do anything else with the technology.
Okay.
So that was the thing. And then as we're getting into other areas, I think staying up to date on technology because it's constantly changing.
Sure.
It's one of the things that we have to be aware of. And it's not cheap
Right.
to stay up to standard.
Good. So you both have mentioned in your answers infrastructure projects, obviously a lot, and you've mentioned grants. Milton's received some good news very recently about the Hoosier Enduring Legacy Program, and I think there's 3 projects in queue for Milton. There's about $89,000 for sewer lines, which you both have already mentioned. Another $100,000 to improve the basketball court and playground equipment, and I think around another $150,000 for replace some sidewalks and make them ADA compliant. And I'll ask Dwight this question first, since we're alternating back and forth, and then come to you, Larry. But Dwight, what do you foresee? How would you propose, if you're successful, to become a member of the town council to ensure those dollars are spent wisely and get the maximum benefit for the residents?
It's going to be a matter of staying on top of everything, keeping people that we're going to put in charge to make these things happen, that they're doing what we need to do to make it happen correctly and lower costs if we can. That's what we're going to have to kind of say right herd on them.
Sure.
to make sure that they're doing the right things. And if I can drift a little,
Sure. You got 2 minutes.
when the town put in storm sewers by INDOT, INDOT came to me. I wasn't even on council. I was a citizen. And the town has a history when people come in, they scatter. And when INDOT was doing this, they were in front of our house. They blocked us. We couldn't get out. So they would come to me, and I worked with them for some of the residents who was, where are you going to lose your front porch? Why are they going to lose their front porch? Because that's where we're going to put the storm line. So what it was, their steps from their porch was right there. So we moved the steps to around the side of the house on the same porch.
Yeah.
I wrote the documents, NDOT approved it. So that's how I stayed part of the activity. And I was traveling all over the world at the time.
All right. Well, good.
So,
Good example. Thank you.
yeah.
Larry, same question. The grant money in these projects, how do you see the involvement in the town council should be to ensure wisely spent, maximum benefit for the dollar?
That's the main thing. If we get it, spending it where it needs to be. Like I say, sidewalks, we have a lot of sidewalk problems, so you really can't walk up any sidewalk. There's just none other than through the main part of town. They're all new. But again, all the side streets, there's missing sidewalks. They're completely gone, busted up, trees lifting them up. So again, that's something that needs to be done. There's no doubt about that. The play park, that was brought up, you know, build a new play park, basketball goals. I even said, hey, tennis court, pickleball's becoming a big sport now, especially in Cambridge at the Golay Center. You see them every day. They're playing pickleball or tennis. So again, I made that clear too, that I thought that would be a good idea. Again, the lot's there, but no, you know, the basketball goals and everything's dilapidated, the pavement's gone. So again, that'll be a good thing. Maybe get some of the kids interested in playing basketball again and getting involved in that. And as I say, tennis courts, pickleball, where they're overwhelmed up in Cambridge, maybe they'll come to Milton and spend some time. But as I say, the grants have to be spent right. That's the thing. And like I say, we recently got into the water grant, but we were all expecting the whole town to get new water lines when we found out that money wasn't appropriated properly in a water account. And so the government basically told us we have to have some money in a water account for paying for maybe a new well pump or rebuilding a well pump. And we just didn't have it. So now we've raised water bills to get that money in and get it saved. But again, I just want to make sure we stay up on the grants, because once we get the water lines in, we're also going to need new paved streets in Milton. I've seen this. I've been in many, many towns that's gotten new sewers, new water lines, and your big problem is waiting until everything settles and making sure your town streets get paved back. That's something we're going to be needing to keep in mind too, close in the future, is getting streets paved back as soon as and that's going to be grant money too, there's no doubt. And I've already spoke about that in town meetings, that we don't want to forget that once we get these lines put in, we're going to have streets really messed up.
Okay.
So again, I'm all about keeping with grants, getting grants for anything we can, you know, and working hard to get those grants and staying up with them.
Thank you.
May I
Yeah,
interject?
sure.
One thing Larry and I talked about is we need a list of objectives for each of these projects. Who's going to be responsible? What's the target date? And have those checklists that we're going to do this first, then we're going to do the next move, versus just saying, hey, we're going to do this.
Yep.
Right.
We need traceability. We got to track it.
Good. Good. Thank you. Well, once again, I want to remind everybody that this is the INFocus Candidate Forum. We're talking with Dwight Smith and Larry Harris, candidates for the at-large town council seat in Milton. And this program is brought to you by Western Wayne News, Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce, and WCTV. If you have questions, please send the questions you'd like to have these candidates answer. If you send it to the Whitewater Community Television Facebook page, we'll get that to them right away and they can answer it while we're on the air today. So both of you have mentioned grants and the importance they play in a small town's budget and being able to get projects done. Many times I hear from small towns where they'll talk about they don't have the resources or enough people or the time or skills to write those grants or administer those grants. I think I went with Larry first, so I'll hit Dwight with this one first this time. What would you propose might be a way for Milton to be able to be more successful in grant writing and to get more funds?
Well, there is a list of people out there that write grants that we can have access to if we chose to do it. I actually authored grants when I was on council through Wayne County Foundation. And so it can be difficult depending on how much money you're asking for. But there is a group of people out there that we can actually go to write grants for us. There's actually a published list that we can use. And I think the thing is with getting grant, we got to be very precise on what we're trying to achieve.
Okay.
So you can get the grant written correctly.
Okay. Larry, same question.
Well, I'm like him, just getting things done correctly. As I say, as far as the grants, I mean, we can get them. It's just getting them right, getting the amount that we need. Again, it's a government thing that they tell you how much they're going to give you, but we just don't want to lose them. And as I say, recently, because we weren't keeping up with what was going on with this water, we lost out on the whole town getting done because there was only one bid put in to replace our water lines, which I think the council should have been more involved there, knowing that there was only one bid, and maybe ask the government if they could extend some time there a little bit rather than this due date coming up and there was only one bid. And that bid was $2 million higher than was even close to anticipated. So again, that costed the town bad there because they weren't keeping up with what they needed to make sure we were getting all the grant we were told we would get. But as I say, we're not going to get that now. Half of our town may get new water lines and the other half may wait till the next grant will be issued for the town. We just, like I say, we just got to get our town straightened up and be prepared. Just be ready. I mean, as I say, in my line of work, I may, plan a job 5, 6, 7 months down the road and know exactly what I'm going to do 7 months down the road, although tomorrow that job's nowhere close. I'm dealing with today. Again, it's just making sure we get grants where we need them. With this new park and everything, I think that's going to be great as long as we don't lose that. We just stay with it, stay with the grants, and as I say, any chance we can get a grant for something, we get it.
Okay. So Larry, you just mentioned a bid coming in higher than expected and having a negative impact on the grant and the project. So prices are increasing everywhere.
Yes.
It's gonna, if it hasn't already, had an impact, put a pinch on the town's budget. What, as a potential town council member, would you propose can be done to help ensure you're still meeting the needs of the community in terms of services and infrastructure despite the rising costs?
Well, as I say, the way we've got to do it is we've got to stay on what's going on. If we're aiming at something and we've got a project going, we've got to stay with that project. It can't be something that we talk about it at a meeting and then 2 or 3 months from now we talk about it again. And that's commonly what's done is something's brought up, but it's not acted on for weeks. I mean, this is common things that goes on a lot in all towns, but again, in our town, we need to make sure we go after everything we can because we are a small town and stick with it, keep working on it. As I say, if you start working on a project like Dwight here, he works. He does the footwork, he does the paperwork. But again, if I'm on town council, I'm going to do that too. I'm going to do the paperwork. I'm going to do the footwork. I'm going to know what I can know about everything. I mean, I want to be involved, but as I say, I'm always involved because I go to the meetings and I go to the workshops. But again, I want to be on the council to help the residents and make sure we do the best things we can do for Milton. And as I say, like I say, Dwight here, he's the same way. He's only looking out for Milton's best interests and the residents. And I know that for a fact. I've known Dwight for many years, and you just don't get no better than him.
Oh, good. Thank you. Dwight, what are your thoughts on how a town council can deal with rising costs and still deliver the services needed by the community?
Well, we gotta, First of all, we got to prioritize health and safety of our citizens. That's our first thing we have to prioritize. There's things that we do that everybody thinks we have to have a new $16,000 or $18,000 lawnmower, where you can do a repair for maybe $500. So we need to look at our spending. We got to focus on what can we reduce, how can we do it ourselves, such as repairs, versus paying someone else to do it. That will help. It's not going to be a lot, but it does help. It gets you into that mode that we don't have to outsource everything that we need to have repaired.
Right.
Our former employees used to do all the repairs, so you didn't have that cost.
Okay.
So those are the things that we got to look at. As far as trying to get more money, you know, that could be an uphill battle a little bit because we have to match these grants.
Sure.
So that becomes another issue. We need to focus on the ones, take what we can get that we know we can make happen.
Okay.
And as Larry's saying, maybe half the town won't get new water lines for a while. They're taking the east side first because that's the oldest, which makes sense. And I think if you explain that to citizens, they'll understand. We take care of the old and we'll get to the other somewhere down the road.
Okay. Good. Thank you. So we're talking about budgets. Grant money occasionally, and fortunately for all of us in East Central Indiana, there's been a lot of grant money lately. That's not always the case. Taxes are another big source of how we fund the town budget. There's a lot of discussion from time to time and recently around a countywide food and beverage tax. There's data available that shows that our proximity to I-70 draws a lot of folks and patrons to our restaurants and establishments from outside the county, even outside the state. So I'll ask you first, Dwight, would you be in support of a Wayne County 1% food and beverage tax that could help fund projects in the county and in the surrounding towns?
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that's a good idea. I mean, if it gets spread equally amongst the people in those areas, sometimes the big towns get big money, little towns get very little money. You know, I mean, so I think that's, you know, like the COVID funds and all that. I mean, it didn't come directly to Milton. It went to Wayne County, and then they just distributed what was needed. And maybe what we were needing wasn't told to them enough or in detail. So maybe we failed to give them enough information so we could have gotten more money. Those are the things we have to look at. But I don't see a 1% tax as an issue. I mean, I've looking at some proposals for our fire department because they're volunteers, trying to get more funding to them somehow. And I've looked at that, but I'm not on council yet, so if I get there, then I can have more people to help pursue it as a team, not as an individual. We need to work as a team to make this happen.
Good, thank you.
Yep.
Larry, how about you?
I agree the same way. I don't think 1% is going to make, anyone run off, but and if it helps bring up money, and I'm all for it. Like I say, we need the money. And again, any way we can get it, any way we can get it, without, like I say, getting too deep into the residents' pockets.
Sure.
I mean, as I say, we have enough coming out of our pockets anyway. Like I say, most of our residents there in Milton, are ready for some change, and I am too.
Good, thank you. Well, we're running up against the end of the program. Thank you guys both again, but I'd like to have you close with, keep it to a minute or less if you can. I'll start with you, Larry, but some closing remarks that you'd want to share with the folks watching.
Okay, well, like I say, I've lived in Milton all my life. I've worked for most of the people in Milton. Pretty much everyone should know me. I just, again, have lived there all my life, and I'm slowing down a little at 62 years old. Like I say, I've been self-employed, and it's been great. Work 7 days a week, but again, now I'm ready to slow down a little bit and give what I can back to the town. Just like I say, Dwight's been doing for years, giving to the town. Even him, he's not on the board, he's still involved and doing things, and that's like myself. I'm involved too. If I can help out in town, I jump on anything. If there's a town building needs to be repaired, I repair it. I try and never charge anything for me, just material. Again, I love the town of Milton. It's where I plan on, I was born and raised, and I'm going to stay there till
Okay.
the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dwight, about a minute?
Yeah, I mean, Milton is a nice little town. It basically, there's a lot of seniors there that are, you know, they're in their 80s and 90s. And we are starting with things that's been going on. You're bringing in new families, which helps your property tax change when you buy a home in Milton.
Okay.
Whenever you change the house, the property taxes go up. So that's something that's going on. But I think keeping a good ability to talk to one another, getting together, getting input. Not everybody sees it the same way,
Right.
and sometimes we have to work through that. But I think those are things that we need to work at and to help get more people involved
Good.
in all that kind of stuff. And looking at fundraising methods.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I want to thank you both for coming tonight. I want to thank you both for wanting to be involved in local government. It's a time when we need more and more people involved, and appreciate you guys putting yourself out there. It means a lot. So thank you. Again, I want to remind everybody, please register to vote. You can do so at indianavoters.com. Call 765-973-9304. The deadline is October 10th. Election day this year is November 7th. Also want to remind everybody about the upcoming INFocus programs. Richmond Common Council at-large seats. There'll be a conversation on October 5th for those candidates. I have a conversation on October 12th for candidates for Richmond Mayor. October 19th, the program will feature candidates from Richmond Common Council Districts 2 and 5. And please join us on election night, November 7th, for live results as they come in. So we want to make sure, again, the Chamber of Commerce wants to remind everyone of the October 13th Business Summit. You can get more information about that at wcchamber.org. Some excellent keynote speakers to share their business expertise with all attendees. So thank you very much for this evening. Again, gentlemen, thank you for your
thank
engagement,
you.
your involvement, and your service to the community, and wish both of you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Western Wayne News. Thank you, Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce and WCTV for this valuable service to our community. Have a good evening.